Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for May 14th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. Big day here in Philly sports, so let's get right into it. First, tough one for the Phils last night. 3-1, loss up in Boston. On a positive note, Andrew Painter did look pretty solid. Bounced back, 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks. Looked much better. Did give up a moonshot for the only run, but that's okay. But I think more importantly, after his past few outings, 0 walks is the takeaway for me. Unfortunately for the bullpen, they struggled a little bit as well. Speaking of moonshots, Orion Kerkering gave up a moonshot himself. The offense just couldn't get it going. Kyle Schwarber's home run streak is over. So next year, when we start talking about Phillies who have had 5 straight games with a home run, and even later this year when we get to Chase Utley, Kyle Schwarber's name is added to the list. One day, somebody will hit more than 5 straight games with a home run. But a big game tonight as they look to take the series for the 5th straight time. Remember, we're trying to take series, get to 500 before we even start talking about standings and playoffs and things like that. Jesus Luzardo goes against our old pal, Ranger Suarez. Maybe Ranger tries a little bit too much against his former team. We'll see how that goes, but big game for the Phils tonight as they look to take the series against Boston. Lots of mixed reactions. I was shocked yesterday at the mixed reactions for the Sixers getting rid of Daryl Morey. A lot of people not happy with it, believe it or not. I did see some people, I won't mention names, who said he's up there with Howie Roseman, maybe even better than Howie Roseman as a GM. Not so sure about that. But look, I look at it like this. Did he do some good things? Yes. I think specifically with the draft, Tyrese Maxey, Jarrett McCain, even though he's traded, and VJ Edgecombe. So give him that. I mean, and when he took over, the Sixers had Al Horford under contract, which somehow he was able to get rid of him. Didn't do much with Tobias Harris's contract, trying to move him. But Joe and that contract, that is all Daryl Morey. Paul George, that is Daryl Morey. And look, he went for it a couple times. The James Harden move, listen, at that point, Ben Simmons was not going to play for us. The fact that he was able to bring in Harden, and it worked for a while. But, I mean, James Harden just has that loser mentality. I mean, again, I talked about this on this podcast years ago when it was happening in real time. If there's a problem with James Harden with every team he goes to, maybe James Harden is the problem. And maybe Morey thought between their personal connection, which is not existent now because Daryl Morey is a liar according to James Harden, maybe he thought it was going to work out. But is he kind of being a scapegoat here? Possibly. I think the McCain thing, nobody's going to tell me any different that it was Morey's idea. I think that was 100% Josh Harris saying get under the luxury tax. And truthfully, whoever they bring in is going to have their work cut out for them. I don't think this is a situation where, hey, we got a new president, GM, whatever title you want to give them, and now magically the Sixers are going to be contenders. This thing's going to get way worse before it gets better, because you're laden with that Joel Embiid contract. You're laden with the Paul George contract. And it's a shame because you have Tyrese and VJ. And we talked about this before. There's like two simultaneous teams right now. You have the old guys that you can't get rid of right now, and the young guys you're trying to build around. And whoever comes in is going to have their work cut out for them. Now, I still don't know if keeping Nick Nurse. I think if I was a GM, I'd want to bring in my guy. Maybe he keeps Nick Nurse for a year and then moves on to his guy. We'll see how that plays out, but I think that's just an odd sort of move to do that. And I hate to say this, and this is probably going to be an unpopular opinion. The only way you're going to win is to eventually somehow get rid of Paul George and Joel Embiid and get those contracts off the books. You're not going to be able to do that while continuing to build. So you're either stuck with those two guys for the next 2 years. And look, this is not a knock against Joe at all. Paul George, take it or leave it. Like, I have no emotional tie whatsoever to Paul George. But Joe, love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. But I don't think, unless you can get a young center who can contribute and spell Joe and play well, like if you could somehow get a combination player that takes what Robert Drummond and Adem Bonham do and like morph them into one, it's not going to happen. So the unpopular opinion here is you need picks in order to get better. You're not going to be able to get rid of Joe without trading some of those picks, which defeats the whole purpose. And we saw this. I'm not opposed at this point to building around VJ Edgecombe and packaging Tyrese Maxey. Maximize his value. I think you got to start looking long term and looking at what you got. And if Daryl Morey had traded Joe 4 years ago, I guess it would have been 2 or 3 years ago at this point, when his value was at his highest, maybe we'd be in a better position. I think, and a lot of people are going to say it's Joe, but again, he didn't impress me in that Knicks series. I don't know if Tyrese is that guy. So maybe you maximize, get a few first-round picks for him now, and hopefully that gives you some leverage to get rid of Joe, and you still have some first-round picks to start building around VJ. I don't know. I think it's a legitimate, serious option, though, we need to discuss if we want this team to get better, or, Mr. Harris, Mr. Scumbag, you suck it up and you go over the luxury tax. Teams do it all the time. Like, how committed to you, or are you, to winning? I mean, you're printing money, owning 3 teams. I think, I'm not sure, but I was talking to somebody and they said he owns the Sphere. So you got some money, dude. You can afford it. The Knicks were like $40-some million over the cap, and you saw the huge gap in from Jalen Brunson on down, Karl Anthony Towns on down, to what the Sixers had, and specifically on the bench. So I think those really, to me, are the two options you got. You either package Maxey for some picks, or you break out your checkbook and channel your inner Jeffrey Lurie, dude, and show me and show us that you're committed to winning. You'd probably do it if it was the Commanders, so why not do it for the Sixers? You're probably a smarter businessman than I am, and not going to argue that whatsoever. But you put a winning team on the floor, you're gonna make money. This team wants to like the Sixers. We're just fed up with the Sixers. So, unfortunately, I think with the firing of Daryl Morey, though, a lot of you will argue that this happened years ago, and that's fine. You know how I am. I was one of the last remaining truthers for the process, but I think the process is officially dead. Took me just a little bit later than everybody else to realize this, but So we'll see what happens with the new guy, but I would love to know your thoughts because I think it's an intriguing option to trade Tyrese Maxey now while his value is at his highest. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts. Am I nuts for thinking it? I don't know. And I like the guy. And that's the thing. I like the guy. But I think I'm kind of learning from my mistakes. We talk about that on Tuesdays all the time. Probably should have been trading Joe a couple years ago. Maximize that value. But let me know your thoughts on Tyrese Maxey and whether or not the Sixers should entertain a trade to kind of get some picks that would give them flexibility to get rid of Joe and that contract and possibly even Paul George. We'll see. Rick Tocchet spoke to the media yesterday, and I guess my two takeaways from it spoke very highly of Mishkov. There was a contentious relationship between the two this season, but I saw video of it, unless this is a Ben Simmons type video, but said he was already out on the ice skating, working toward next year. He says he's motivated. He wants to get better. He's a second-year player. I think a lot of people forget that. And he said, look, we have a good relationship. So I like that moving forward. And then the other thing, he's like, I'm getting back to work on trying to figure out the power play. He said he thinks a lot of the guys were nervous. He needs to kind of do a better job, barring in line from Andy Reid, of getting the players in position. So, I mean, I'm bullish on the Flyers. I think I have been for the past 2 years, but I like what Tocchet said. So we'll see how it plays out. Union. Stop me if you heard this before. Lost again, 4-3, this time down in Orlando. They fought back from a 2-0 deficit and a 3-1 deficit to tie the game both times. They were down 2 goals 2 times. They fought back to tie it. Lots of ties in there. But Kevin Sullivan with his first MLS goal. If you remember, he scored in the Champions Cup. But it wasn't enough as they gave up the lead in the 90th minute. They play their final home game before the World Cup break on Saturday versus Columbus. Man, this team is bad right now. More Eagles schedule leaks as the official schedule will come out today. But Week 3, they will play Monday Night Football in Chicago. And Week 8, they'll be down in D.C. for Sunday Night Football. So we know when they play the Bears, they play in Washington, play the Jags in London, and, of course, the Cowboys on Thanksgiving in Dallas. Don't know anything about home games yet. I don't know if the Philly, who knows what's going on in that. But we'll know the rest tonight. And the NFL does it right. The fact that we've been talking about schedule leaks all week leading up to tonight's schedule release, only the NFL can make the release of the schedule entertaining. PGA Championship kicks off soon. I think within the next hour, as from when I'm recording this. If you're watching this, it's probably already teed off. But we're rooting for Braden Shattuck, who tees off early this morning. Delco from Aston. But the biggest names in golf. Looking forward to this tournament. Always love a good major. But we'll be rooting for Braden Shattuck. More on the PGA later. Also, tomorrow will mark the first day of the Stotesbury Regatta, which is the world's largest and oldest high school rowing competition. I think it's tomorrow. I don't think it's 3 days. I think it's 2 days, and I don't even have my phone to look it up. But either way, the oldest and largest high school rowing competition in the world. Always a good time. I just remember when I used to run consistently down on Kelly Drive, just running down there from my house in Roxborough, and anytime there's a regatta down there, it's a good time. But the Stotesbury kicks off this week as well, down on the river. And then yesterday's trivia answer, we talked about Papelbon setting the Phillies career save record. Which relievers have over 100 saves for the Phillies? That would be Papelbon with 123, Jose Mesa with 112, Steve Bedrosian 103, Mitchie Poo, Mitch Williams with 102, and Brad Lidge with 100. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Summer is almost here. Memorial Day is less than 2 weeks away. Can you believe it? You're going to be taking trips down to the shore, and everybody knows how stressful it can be, especially if you're staying down for a week with moving in. And then, of course, even if you're going for the day, getting and lugging everything on the beach. Beach Caddy has you covered. I'm proud to partner with them again this summer. If you're in Ocean City, Sea Isle, Avalon, Stone Harbor, or Wildwood, they can help move you in. They have the bellhop service, which moves you in, moves you out. You don't have to get all sweaty. You don't have to start arguing with everybody and get your vacation started off on a sour note. Let Beach Caddy do all the hard work for you. You can go grab a drink, watch them do all the work, and then rent a cart. Best beach carts on the Jersey Shore, the nice big tires to get you easily through the sand. You don't want to be the guy with the chairs falling off and shovels and all of that. Beach Caddy's got you covered. And for this summer, if you're in one of those shore points, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your bellhop or your beach cart rental service. Go to beachcaddy.app, use the promo code, and again, take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. Like, nobody wants to start vacation off arguing and sweating. Have a drink. Enjoy it. Beach Caddy's got you covered. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. We're getting there. We're getting there. Still editing the Philly Hall, the new podcast, the new official podcast of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Like to get that out and ready before I go to the Outer Banks next week, which is a quick programming note. Next week, episodes likely will be later, at least on Monday, as I try to navigate and figure out where I'm going to record. And you're probably going to see some people walking behind me, probably going to hear some noise in the background. It's going to be pandemonium for a week. But that is next week. So it will be up most likely by 9, 10 o'clock at the latest. Probably, I still get up early, so it'll probably be right on time. Check out the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame blog. Link is in the description. And again, once we get back, Kyle and I will have a Brotherly Birds breakdown as well. Haven't had the opportunity to do any takes from the truck this week for testing, basically because I'm in the city and traffic is a nightmare, so I don't have any extra moments in my truck. I'm like running across the city trying to get to the building. This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. All right, May 14th. We're going to hop in the way back machine for this first one. Go all the way to 1883, and the Philadelphia Quakers, you may know them as the Philadelphia Phillies, finally got in the win column, beating the Chicago White Stockings in a beatdown 12-1 in a game that was made up from a rain out on May 10th. It was their first ever win in franchise history. They went 0-8 to start the season before finally getting a win in dramatic fashion, 12-1 over the Chicago White Stockings. Wasn't a good season for the Phils in that first season, though. 17-81-1. And the White Stockings from Chicago are not the team you think they are. That is the original name of the Cubs. The Cubs had a couple different names before settling on the Cubs, but the Phillies get their first win ever on this day, beating the White Stockings, who would become the Cubs, 12-1 on this day. And then fast forward to 1922, the Phillies win again. They beat the Cardinals this time 5-1 out in St. Louis, bringing their all-time record to 2,827 and 2,827. This was the last time the Phillies, as a franchise, were 500 or better as a team. I say that, and I did the research on this. In Major League Baseball, ties, any statistics in a tie count toward a player's statistics. Ties, there are games that end in ties, do not factor into a team's record at all. So there definitely was a handful of ties, especially in those early days. But the last time the Phillies were at 500 was on this day in 1922. It was short-lived, though, as they would lose their next 12 in a row after this and really never looked back and have never been close to that. And it's amazing because in 1922 that they were 500, because from 1918 to 1948, they had just one winning season. And we talk a lot about bad eras that we grew up with, like the early 90s and the post Rollins, Utley, Howard era being bad baseball. No, that 30-year period was the worst era of Phillies baseball ever. And that does lead us nicely into today's trivia question. There's been a lot of professional sports teams in the four major sports here in Philadelphia over the years. Obviously, we have the Sixers, Flyers, and Eagles now. But of all of the four major pro sports teams that have ever played in Philly, which ones are above 500 all time? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 or the Discord channel, which is in the description. But of all the teams in Philly for the major sports, we're not talking Soul, not talking Union, not talking Wings, but of four major sports, which teams are above 500 all time? I think you know which one is not 500 all time. But anxious to see some guesses and takes on this one. Testing not only your team knowledge, but your Philadelphia sports history knowledge as well. All right, now we're going to move ahead all the way to 1985. Flyers beat the Nordiques 2-1 to go up 3-2 in the Wales Conference Final. Joe Patterson and Murray Craven each scored. Pelle Lindbergh saved 30 shots out of the 31 he faced, as the Flyers are one win away now from their first Stanley Cup since 1980. Will they do it? And then 2 years later, 4 Flyers scored, including the game winner by future coach Rick Tocchet, as the Flyers beat the Canadiens 4-3 up in Montreal in Game 6 of the Wales Final to go back to their second cup in 3 years. So there, spoiler alert, in 1985, the Flyers did make it to the cup. Ron Hextall this time saved 29 of the 32 shots he saved as the team recovered from that disappointing 85-86 campaign where they lost Pelle Lindbergh and all that. So Flyers during that stretch there in the late 80s, they were a dominant team. But on this day, they beat the Canadiens 4-3 to go to the Stanley Cup Final once again. And then in 2010, after climbing out of a 3-0 hole to force Game 7, Flyers come out for Game 7 up in Boston and quickly fall behind 3-0 after the Bruins scored 3 first-period goals. But then James Van Riemsdyk started the rally, scoring late in the first period, and the Flyers just started chipping away. Scotty Hartnell and Danny Briere scored in the second to tie it up before Simon Gagne hit the power play winner in the third, as the Flyers complete one of the most improbable comebacks in all of sports history, not just the NHL. They were down 3-0, down 3-0 in Game 7, come back and win 4-3, go to the Eastern Conference Finals as the 7th seed to take on the number 8 seed Montreal Canadiens, giving us hope that maybe the Flyers were going to go to the Stanley Cup. Spoiler alert, they did. And then 3 years later, I kind of officially came to the realization as I was planning for this podcast today that the process is dead. The process is over. And if it is officially over, I mean, you can make the argument that it won't be over until Joe is officially not on the team. But if the process is officially over, it started officially on this day in 2013 when the Sixers hired Sam Hinkie. I still think that the NBA and the Colangelos are the ones who spoiled the process. I wanted to see what Sam Hinkie had up his sleeve. Say what you want about him. He was an awkward person, wasn't a good communicator, but he was able to see when it was time to get rid of guys. I mean, granted, he drafted those guys like Michael Carter-Williams, guys like Jahlil Okafor, but to his credit, he was not afraid to move on from them quickly. So we'll see. But if the process is over, the father of the process started it on this day in 2013. I think if we could get somewhere in between Sam Hinkie and Daryl Morey for the next GM, we'll be okay. All right, today is Thursday. That means it's time for Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. They got you covered for your Philly sports apparel. They just keep coming up with shirts. It's great to see. They're featured at the new shop of my friend John Foley down on South Street. So go check out Foley's on South as well. But go to Philly Goat. They have you covered with your Philly sports apparel needs, and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, so it is PGA Championship week here. Aronimink over in Delaware County. Gonna give you something that you probably did not know. And we're gonna spotlight Rodman Wanamaker today. He was the son of John Wanamaker. Yes, that John Wanamaker. So Rodman was born in Philly, and he is the founding father of the PGA. Yes, he is the founding father of the Professional Golf Association. Ironically enough, not much of a golfer or a sportsman himself, but a very good mind for business. He hosted a meeting because he wanted to sell and always sold a lot of golf stuff in his stores. And Wanamaker is one of the few department stores that would do that. And in this meeting Walter Hagen, famous golfer, was there. 3 months later, the PGA was created. And his goal and what he wanted to do was change the perception of golf pros. They were kind of seen as working class. They weren't taken serious as legitimate athletes. He wanted them to have more prestige and respect. And he did a lot to help that. He helped grow the game. And he came up with the idea, let's have this big, prestigious tournament, the PGA Championship, and give them, whoever wins it, a big prize, the first PGA Championship, the purse. I just laugh because I know what the guys are going to make this week. $2,580 went to the winner of the first PGA Championship. And he paid for and created this nice silver cup trophy. You know it now as the Wanamaker Trophy, named after him. But wanted it to mean something to win this championship. The original was lost by Walter Hagen, though. Lost it in a cab. That just goes to show you how different of the times were back then. It was found, and the original Wanamaker Trophy is in PGA headquarters now. But the PGA Tour and the PGA in general was founded by a Philly-born guy named Rodman Wanamaker, the son of John Wanamaker. And you know, John Wanamaker is the guy who put the organ down on Market Street, the Christmas display, all of that stuff. But Rodman Wanamaker, the father of the PGA Tour, we celebrate him as the PGA returns to Philly this week. Looking forward to watching this. But that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And then finally today, our Philly connections. This guy, I think we forget sometimes that he was here because he was only here for a year. But Jaromir Jagr played for the Flyers. He's probably best known for his time with the Penguins, being a thorn in the side of the Flyers for years. But in 2011, he signed with the Flyers. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 13-time All-Star, future Hall of Famer who's still playing over in Czechia. He is still playing, or Czechia, I guess it would be. He's still playing for his home club over there, well into his 50s. During that season with the Flyers, though, he scored his 1,600th point. And he was a huge player for the Flyers that year. He was on the top line and really served more as a mentor for guys like Claude Giroux. Helped him become the player and the leader he was. He only scored 1 goal in the playoffs, but helped the Flyers that season beat his former team, the Penguins. But again, better known for his time in Philly for his leadership and mentoring the young guys on that team, but often forgotten that he played in here. So Jaromir Jagr is today's Philly Connections. All right. I think it's pretty cool, though, that the PGA got its start by a Philly guy. Unfortunately, that meeting took place in New York, but we'll let that go. Wanamaker was from Philly and died in Atlantic City, so he was always close to the area. So we'll claim him. On this day in 2013, Sam Hinkie was hired as the Sixers GM, starting the process, which reluctantly I'm putting to sleep today. Can't go on anymore. Need to start with something fresh, or maybe there's a process 2.0 on the way. Maybe that. And maybe I'll have a T-shirt that says "Trust the Process 2.0." Perhaps. 2010 Flyers with the most improbable comeback in all of sports history, in my opinion, down 3-0 to the Bruins. Forced a Game 7 and quickly got down 3-0 in Game 7, but battled back to win it 4-3 to move on to the conference finals. 1987, Flyers go back to the Stanley Cup, beating the Canadiens in Game 6. Second time in 3 years for that. 1985, they were one win away from going to the Stanley Cup after beating the Nordiques 2-1. Phillies, last time they were 500, this day in 1922, and it's been downhill ever since. But which Philly teams, for today's trivia, all time have a 500 or better record? Major Philly sports teams. And the Phillies did get their first win ever on this day in 1883. We'll start breaking down the schedule tomorrow slightly for the Eagles as it's released. I'll save most of the predictions and things like that and discussion for the Brotherly Birds breakdown from when I come back from vacation. Any updates on the Sixers and Flyers will have Phil's look to take the series against the Red Sox, against our old buddy Ranger Suarez. Sorry, Ranger. I hope you go down. I hope you go down. And we'll also have Fridays with AI tomorrow because it is Friday. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for May 14th, 2026. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.